my 1 cup of coffee tour. Come on up so you can see everything. I'm going to pass a couple of things around to you as well, so please come all the way in. Okay, good morning. So here we are at finger weaving, and using commercial yarn, these ladies do 3 types of weave. But before we get to that, I'm actually going to jump back in time because that's how I like to do this. Before commercial yarn, the Cherokee used a couple of different kinds of yarn the most. One would be made out of the fibers of the Indian hemp plant, although they could also make thread out of fibers of mulberry bark, or bison. I want to let you guys pass these around. That's why I wanted to start with that. There were mountain bison in this area. They were similar to the bison that you would be thinking of, the buffalo on the prairie, but they were in this area. Unfortunately, the last one was hunted out, believed to be 1792 near Asheville. But they would make yarn out of the fibers of the, generally the hair that they would shed, just like all those large animals would do. So you can pass that around. So the first type of weaving was single weave. It's a simple over-under type of weaving that produces checked or plaid patterns. There is double weaving, which would be more of what you would see on a traditional loom type of weave. The Cherokee did not use looms, they only did finger weaving, but the double weave would be what you might find off loom. Or oblique method, which would create designs that incorporated the use of beads as well. It would take anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks to create a belt or a sash, depending on the intricacy and the length. Now, some of the zigzag and diamond patterns had meanings back in the day that unfortunately those meanings have been lost over time. There are certainly some who speculate that they may represent the peaks and valleys of the Smoky Mountains that they lived in. Anyone have any questions about finger weaving? Now, these ladies can use anywhere from manipulate 10 to 200 strands of yarn at a time. This is a 200 strand piece.
And they do it all with their fingers.
Yes, they do. Once they're finished, if they're the wider pieces could also then be sewn together to create blankets or shawls. Okay? If there's no questions. I'm sorry?
How do they make those designs? What gives them the...
They're incredibly talented. These ladies create their own designs.
I mean, how do they remain consistent?
They're good.
Really good. I mean,
really good.
No, I'm just saying because there's so many designs at one time. I mean, how do you keep that consistency?
You're going to be asking that question at every station.
And you just keep doing the same eagle dance. Oh, wow. Wow.
And it's all, you have to learn, the right tension.
Many of these, yeah. That was my next statement. Many of these crafters have been doing this their whole lives, or most of their lives. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next station.
Yeah, just walk right in.
I know, but where did everything go? I usually start here because then they're going to.
Yeah, she's not saying that.
Oh, she. Okay. All right. Well, I'll change this up a little bit, but I'll point to what used to be here, and we'll be back again. Okay. Here we are at beadwork, now using steel needles and thread, flax thread, and beads. There are 2 different types of beadwork, but again, I always like to go back in time, so we'll do that first. Now, there are some items that are often here, they're not now, but there were some necklaces up here that incorporated the use of claws, of teeth. The Cherokee would decorate with whatever items were at their disposal. And prior, and this sort of comes up in every station, prior to the introduction of metal, they would use other resources. So for their needles, they would carve a needle out of a straight bone that could be found just above a deer's hoof. They would take a flint knife and carve this needle down into a sharp point, and then make thread out of the mulberry bark or the Indian hemp or even animal sinew. The beads early on would either be created, clay beads from the clay and local to this area, seashells that could be obtained by trading with coastal tribes, or the Indian corn bead, also known as Job's tears. Glass beads came from the Tsar's Czechoslovakia and were part of the trading system that came along. The Cherokees didn't trade very far west. They didn't really trade past the Mississippi, but boy did they trade north and south, from Canada all the way to South America. So the two types of beadwork are scroll work, which would essentially be used to decorate either the sides of men's trousers, for example, or the borders of ladies' skirts. Second type of weave is solid work, and in solid work, the crafters pick up one bead at a time and attach it with thread to the bead next to it, meaning then the thread would pass back through both beads. So each bead had at least 2 strands of thread in it. Now that meant if this were to break, only a few beads would be lost and it would be easily mended. The whole thing would not fall apart.
So it's pivot stitch?
Yes, that's exactly right. That is one of the terms. There's 2 or 3, but that is one of them. When they were finished, they might sew a piece of buckskin on each side to use to tie off the sash or the belt or whatever the item was, lanyard, whatever they were doing. It takes anywhere from 1 to 2, maybe 3 weeks, again, depending on how intricate it is. This particular piece has, I think the number's 1,400 beads in it. Yeah, that's a lot. And I know some of these crafters have been working since they were pre-teens on this type of work. Like anything else, lots of it's handed down. Like my father taught me some things that he learned from his father. Okay.
So it's size
Any questions?
Size 6 beads?
Yeah.
See, now that's a good
Some of
question.
them are 5s and some of them are 6s.
So where do you get your beads from?
Czechoslovakia, still to this day.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, you got it from Czechoslovakia back then?
Oh yes, it would come over with Europeans and with traders, and then it would all sorts of things would work their way all up and down the coast.
Oh, wow.
And if you get a chance to go to the museum, although they can probably answer this question when you get to that station later, there was a whole currency system. 20 buckskins would get you something, or 40 buckskins, or 20 buckskins in a pot. There was a lot of trading that had a lot of currency.
There's a man here who actually has trade beads from Africa. He's one of the tour guides. He's got a green shirt on, long hair. I might be able to show you some of the trade beads he's got from Sierra Leone that we traded for. They came from Africa up to Europe to here, and then we traded some of our stuff. They've got some of our stuff there too.
Oh, wow.
Okay, let's keep
So
moving.
who do your tattoos? Y'all do your own tattoos here?
We're just like anybody else now. We go to a tattoo parlor, or unless
There's
we
several in the area.
yeah,
Okay.
some of our design, some of the men here have traditional tattoos, but mine are not traditional. I don't like talking about mine in front of the group.
Okay.
They might be able to tell you
There
more
are
about
many
traditional
traditional.
tattoos at the
Okay.
at Wood Carving.
Okay.
Thank you for
All
sharing.
right, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Okay,
Have a
we have
nice
to keep
visit.
moving.